From hosting the 18th G20 Leaders Summit in September to a diplomatic standoff with Canada and a US indictment of a government official over an alleged foiled murder plot, the year 2023 has been an eventful one. Internationally, two ongoing conflicts between Russia and Ukraine and Israel and Hamas have also transformed geopolitics. Welcome to The Print. I am Dishha Bagchi and we take a look at the most significant international events of the year. First on this list is the Israel-Hamas war. On 7th October, the Palestinian militant group Hamas launched an unprecedented attack in Israel, reportedly killing around 1,200 Israelis. Since then, Israel's counter-offensive aerial and ground attacks have devastated Gaza, a 41-kilometer long strip often called the world's largest open-air prison, which has been under Hamas control since 2006. Over 20,000 Gazans have been killed and 50,000 wounded in Tel Aviv's retaliatory strikes. While the United Nations repeatedly called for a ceasefire, Israel's allies, the US and UK, supported the country's right to defend. The strikes briefly paused for a week last month after Qatar and Egypt brokered truce, where Hamas released hostages while Israel released numerous Palestinians from prison. The conflict has also spread towards the Red Sea, with Yemen's Houthi rebels attacking numerous Israeli-owned commercial ships. In response, Washington announced Operation Prosperity Guardian, a US Navy-led coalition to allow international shipping to pass through the region. Next on the list is the row between India and Canada over the killing of Sikh separatist and Canadian citizen Hardeep Singh Nijjar. After Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on 18 September alleged the Indian government's possible link to the murder of Nijjar, tensions rose between the two countries. While India dismissed Canada's allegations as absurd and motivated, it set off tit-for-tat diplomatic expulsions between the two countries, taking ties between them to the lowest. Canada also withdrew 41 diplomats and 42 dependents in October, after New Delhi repeatedly sought diplomatic parity. Amid the ongoing row, the US Justice Department on 29 November indicted Indian national Nikhil Gupta and an unnamed government official in a plot to kill another Sikh separatist, Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. The indictment came a day after India, in response to US concerns about the alleged assassination attempt, announced it had set up a high-level panel to look into the allegations. Last week, the Canadian PM said that the US indictment has forced India to adopt a sober tone, even with Canada. PM Narendra Modi, for the first time, also reacted to the US allegations, expressing India's commitment to the rule of law. Third on this list is the crucial bilateral meeting between the US President Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi outside San Francisco, the first in over a year. Ties had been strained between the two countries after US shot down what it called a Chinese spy balloon off its east coast in February. On its part, Beijing protested Washington's decision to attack a civilian unmanned aircraft. The November meeting lasted 4 hours and saw the two leaders discuss a range of issues, from resuming military communications to combating global illicit drug trafficking and even the Taiwan issue. While Xi reportedly declared that the world was big enough for both the US and China, Biden noted that while they didn't always agree, their meetings were always candid, straightforward and useful. However, Biden later called Xi a dictator as well. Next, we have the G20 Leaders Summit in New Delhi. Holding the G20 presidency this year, India hosted numerous heads of government, including US President Biden, Canada's Trudeau and British PM Rishi Sunak, while Russian President Putin and Chinese President Xi skipped the event. The New Delhi Declaration, an 83-paragraph document signed at the event, highlighted the human suffering and negative added impact of the war in Ukraine and did not use phrases such as condemn or aggression to describe the war. The summit also saw the launch of the Global Biofuel Alliance and the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, or IMEC. Fifth on the list is PM Modi's official state visit to the US. During this visit, he held a bilateral meeting with US President Biden, attended a state dinner, and addressed a joint sitting of the US Congress. Key deals were signed, such as India's purchase of the General Atomics MQ-9 Reaper armed drones, the Artemis Accords, and others. Looking at our neighborhood, sixth on the list is the significant developments in Pakistan. Pakistan faced immense political turmoil over the past year, mostly involving its former Prime Minister and PTI chief, Imran Khan. Khan's first arrest in May on corruption charges involving the Al-Qadir University Trust led to riots and vandalism across the country. He was released the same month and arrested once again in August in the Tosha Khana case. He has now been disqualified from holding office for the next 5 years. In a separate development, Pakistan's former PM Nawaz Sharif returned to the country after 4 years of voluntary exile in London. Political turmoil from civil wars to military coups also roiled Africa's Sahel region. Clashes erupted between the Sudanese armed forces and the paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces in April. Niger fell to a military coup in August and Gabon a month later. Gabon was the 8th such coup in Africa's Sahel region since 2020. February also marked the 1 year of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In June, Ukraine launched a counter-offensive against Russia. This week, Ukraine damaged a Russian warship near Crimea and downed 5 fighters and bombers. In response, Russia launched a massive missile attack on Kyiv Friday, killing 12 civilians. Meanwhile, in Russia, Wagner, a group led by Yevgeny Prigozhin, a former close associate of President Putin, staged a rebellion in June, claiming the Russian military was hiding failures in Ukraine and threatened to march towards Moscow. Eventually, Belarus brokered a deal to end the rebellion. But on 23rd August, Prigozhin was reportedly killed in a plane crash near Moscow. Lastly, former US President Donald Trump faced a wave of legal investigations this year on charges that ranged from forgery and soliciting public officers to hoarding classified documents in his private residence in Mar-a-Lago, as well as an attempt to overthrow the 2020 presidential election. In all, Trump faces 91 criminal counts in 4 separate cases filed in Georgia, Florida, Washington, and New York. With his first indictment in April, Trump became the first former US president to face criminal charges and subsequent arrest. Last week, Colorado disqualified Trump from holding office and running for re-election in the 2024 presidential elections from the state. On Friday, Maine too barred the former president from the state's ballot. Thank you for watching. Follow The Print for all the latest updates.